telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money.
Have you spoken to him directly, to President Xi?
I don't want to say that. It's just not appropriate.
But you're speaking. Sorry, has he called you directly, President Xi, or reached out to try to facilitate a conversation?
Well, you'd think it was pretty obvious that he has, but we will talk about that soon. It's not.
The Trump tariffs on China are now at 245%. But what does that actually mean? Let's unpack it. In a world spun together by silk circuitry and shipping lanes, even the softest flutter of a tariff can ripple across oceans.
United States, growing at an average rate 4 times faster. China dominates global supply chains, and it holds nearly $1 trillion of U.S. debt.
Now, picture this. The U.S. places tariffs on Chinese goods. Suddenly, it's like someone cast a spell. Prices go up, and businesses began searching for more affordable lands. They looked to Vietnam, India, Mexico maybe. Before tariffs, goods flowed steadily from China's bustling ports like Shanghai straight to the U.S. West Coast. After tariffs, ships set sail from Ho Chi Minh City, even Istanbul, rerouting trade through new oceans and land. This isn't just a change in direction, it's a change in destiny. As these enchanted routes adjust, so do the challenges. Delays? Factories in new lands aren't always ready. Ports get overwhelmed, stockouts float. Logistic costs rise, longer routes mean more fuel, fees, and fiddly customs. When timing becomes a mystery, it's harder to enchant your customers with timely deliveries or joyful promotions. Small businesses begin to struggle, lacking the wand-wielding powers of mighty corporations to reshape the entire supply chain, all because one tariff was cast. Meanwhile, China has cast its own spell, an intricate web of roads, rails, and ports called the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is China's massive global infrastructure and economic development project launched in 2013. The goal was to build trade and transport links connecting China to Asia, Africa, Europe, and beyond. Think of it as a magical web of roads, railways, ports, and digital threads, moving goods like spells from scroll to scroll. They help developing countries build infrastructures. It spreads China's influence like stardust across the globe.
And one thing that needs to be mentioned is the reason why they have a lot of connections to get the leather and the zippers and the golds and things that they use for these purses is that a lot of the leather and a lot of the tanning comes from Africa, particularly Nigeria. And so that is why you see a lot of Chinese in Africa. They're making, deals with the Africans to get the leather, to get these goods.
Back in the day, if you were a poor third world nation and you needed money to build your infrastructure and grow your economy, there would be one country that you would call.
If you're a poor third world country, as we used to call them, and you need money for a build railroad, or you need to find places to sell your exports, you direct your diplomats first to go to Beijing, because that's where it's at. If you can't get a good deal there, well, you might go to London or Washington. You want to know why most of the railroads being built in Africa today are being built by the Chinese? There's your answer. They got a better deal.
This allowed China to open new markets for Chinese goods and services. Next, which is very important, secure resources like oil, minerals, and food around the world and expand political influence, especially in the global south. It also means many countries become more economically dependent on China and less on Western institutions like the IMF or the World Bank, which third world countries have historically had a problem with.
Saying anything. I'm going to blame it on the man. Why is it that we know very well what the World Bank is doing, what IMF is doing? The reason there are uprisings in Kenya is because of what IMF was doing to Kenya. Africans are being given egregious interest rates for loans that have been paid 1 million times over, and our ministers of finance know that. Our Reserve Bank managers know that. Our heads of states know that. So why can't we mount a campaign to take a position and say enough is enough?
Every enchantment has a rival. When President Trump waved his policy wand, he essentially asked nations to choose. Do you walk with China's silk spun path or join the Stars and Stripes Alliance? Choosing the U.S. might mean fewer tariffs, you can access the American markets, and maybe political protection. But you may have to deal with China's retaliation, U.S. leadership deals that may or may not be broken midway, and your infrastructure dreams may go without Chinese funding. For many nations, neutrality is the real magic trick. But how hard is it to balance on that fence?
China today is now the world's biggest trading partner to over 120 countries. Beijing exports $3.6 trillion worth of trade and imports nearly $2.6 trillion worth of goods from other countries.
But not all nations are eager to choose. The U.S. offers trade perks if you turn away from China. Yet, its mood can shift with every leader. Shoots. It can shift with the very same leader. As we have seen, Donald Trump has gone back on his own deals that he has made in the past with Canada and Mexico. I'm all for countries protecting their citizens, industries, and interests, but that's a stance for all countries. The U.S., which is the world's largest exporter of services, China is the world's largest exporter of goods, and it is directly involved in 4 of the 7 major global trading routes. Donald Trump has gutted their federal workers and, good, bad, or indifferent, is capturing, detaining, and deporting migrants, which happens to be a large consumer base in the American economy, is deterring tourism, a major U.S. export, and pushing countries into making deals or deals that do not involve America. And they're asking for other countries to join the ride.
So Trump is not just looking for lower tariffs, he wants countries to abandon other barriers as well, like subsidies and protective standards. Now, there are 2 problems with this. Number 1, it could be a political no-go zone for most countries. Consider India and agriculture subsidies. No government in India will ever think about touching them. And rightly so. Almost half of all Indians work in agriculture, but in the US that number is less than 2%. So it is vital for India to protect this industry.
The United States is the only country in the world that has weaponized its foreign trade, weaponized its foreign currency, the dollar, weaponized the international financial system, and treated every economic relationship in an adversarial way to weaponize it. And other countries say, how can we have a different approach and treat trade as how can we mutually gain?
China firmly opposes any party reaching a deal at the expense of China's interests. If this happens, China will never accept it, and it will resolutely take countermeasures in a reciprocal manner. China is determined and capable of safeguarding its own rights and interests.
2022 and 2023, the U.S. banned exports of advanced chips and equipments to China. They were hoping to slow down its magical AI and military ambitions. But what happened? Instead, China rose like a phoenix. They invested billions in local innovation, launched its own chip production efforts. In trying to stop the spell, the US may have brewed an even more powerful one. And so the world shifts. Trade routes realign, factories find new homes, and chips spark revolutions. Each act casting new light on our interconnected world.
Is it wise or is it foolish for Trump to expect that President Xi will come begging for relief?
There will be no capitulation, preemptive or otherwise, by the Chinese.
Now, these actions have some serious economic consequences. For example, a full or partial collapse in domestic consumption. Small businesses that are often considered the heartbeat of America, there is less money circulating in the economy and it starts to dry up. Rising unemployment and underemployment or cause a serious strain on Social Security, if not a complete breakdown. Also can trigger shortages up and down the supply chain.
You know, it's the same thing with a lot of these luxury goods. So that's why he's saying they are the best of the best, because they've made a lot of friends in a lot of places. India doesn't have those type of connections. Vietnam doesn't have those type of connections, but China does. You know, so that's why they're secure. Like, okay, fine. If Louis Vuitton wants to pull out of China, it's cool. They'll come crawling back.
From food to medicine to electronics, which is why Trump had to concede and remove electronics as a part of his tariff plan. From what we can see, Japan and China, which are the largest U.S. Treasury bondholders, began selling off their bonds, which can cause credit rate droppings and currency collapse.
Who knows whether China's moving on to war footing vis-a-vis Taiwan? But Chinese PBOC is the largest buyer of gold now. So, you know, could we imagine, you know, again, back to imagination, could we imagine some kind of a RMB that is exchangeable into gold, maybe at a premium?
Unfortunately, we must sit and observe as the big boys duke it out. Will Trump succeed or will China succeed? We must watch to see how everything plays out. But until then, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep dreaming, keep creating.
China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't